Everybody's here. We got a full cast tonight, guys. We got a very full cast tonight. Please, guys, you already know where you guys are locked into. This is the Knicks Recap podcast. My name is Troy. You're already locked in, but if you're not subscribed already, you guys already should be. But if you're not, please hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot. It supports so much of what we got going on here today. But let me introduce the fellas. We got the Morning Brew Sports crew here. It's Jigga. It's Phil. It's my guy Hector. And they got a new co-host. I don't know if you guys noticed. You probably seen him on Entourage for HBO. Definitely seen him on Power. Tell you that much. And he's the new co-host for Knicks Morning Brew, Jerry Ferrara. What's going on, fellas? How you feeling?
You just hyped me up like a free agent acquisition, right? I feel like Jalen Brunson. I hope I can hold up.
You better. You bet. I'm holding all you to the fire, all you guys to the test today. But I was telling these guys off air, guys, everybody who's in the chat right now, we haven't been able to talk preseason basketball with really anybody at all. Because I've been talking to a lot of insiders, getting the scoop on the team, and I love doing that. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But I want to talk about the team. I want to talk about the preseason and all of that other stuff. And really, guys, just to get it started, because I really feel like we got to, talking about with the Knicks. Knicks must average more assists this season. And I think it's a clear thing that we got to talk about, guys, because 24 assists against the Boston Celtics in the preseason game. Preseason, one game, Josh Hart wasn't playing, and we were playing against basically a G League Celtics team. I mean, all the starters were benched. But they had a back-to-back, so whatever. Shout out to them. But in regards to the Knicks, and just to give you guys some stats here, the Knicks in terms of assists per game, this is from 2018 to 2019, right? So 2018, 2019, they were 30th last. 2019 and 2020, 27th. 2020 to 2021, 29th. 2021 to 2020th. A return back to 30. And the playoff year, 2022 to 2023, tied for 29th. So suffice to say, we got to pass the ball more because winning teams pass the ball. Let's go ahead and start with Phil here. Phil, you know I love your takes, and I really love everything you got to say in regards to the Knicks. What do you think with the New York Knicks and their assist numbers? Do you agree? Do you think they need to average or get their assists up from where they are? Because they've been the bottom of the league really for years now.
Yeah. Appreciate you, first of all. Love connecting with you on Twitter and everything like that. And when we're on the shows, so we appreciate the platform. But when it comes to assists, I think that people need to see that when we want more assists does not mean that we don't appreciate what happens when someone goes ISO. Like, it's not an either or type thing. Like, for me personally, our guys would thrive. The Jalen Brunsons, the RJ Barretts, and the Julius Randles would thrive so much more in their ISO game if passing was something that the other teams actually feared. But when they don't fear the pass, of course there's going to be multiple double teams. There's going to be, multiple stops on their end, turnovers, rush shots on our part. And a lot of times our guys aren't ready to take that shot with 3 seconds left because they don't even believe that they're going to get the pass. So I truly believe that we would see such an increase in our offensive game if we actually included ball movement. Like the shots that Jalen Brunson gets from the three-point line when he actually has time and space is absolutely beautiful. Like, Jalen Brunson can drain a three with no problem. It's when he's forcing things and it's constant ISO and no ball movement that our offense gets stale. We become predictable and teams start to be able to pick us apart.
It's funny that you mentioned Jalen Brunson actually with that, because a lot of times people mention Julius Randle right away. And Jerry, I want to go to you real quick. When it comes to the passing, Julius Randle gets called out a lot because of his isolation play. And in terms of him just sticking to the ball, even though he averages a great number of assists in terms of his, career with the Knicks, what do you think in terms of the Knicks passing the ball more? Is it just a Randle thing, or does the team have to buy in together for it to increase?
I think it's a combination of a few things. And look, Randle sometimes is infuriating when he's shooting over three guys and not passing out. But, we're an ISO heavy team. But if you kind of look at Tom Thibodeau's history, and other offensive-minded coaches he brings along, they don't really run a whole lot of stuff. Like, it's not the Warriors circa 4 years ago where there's just motion and the ball's moving. He's always been an ISO-heavy coach. It's just, I don't know if it's the importance he puts on defense and maybe offensive movement doesn't get enough love. The other thing I'll say is missed a lot of threes last year. Like, when the Knicks are hot, and I guess you could say this for every team, you know, assist numbers are up because the spacing's there. I think that's why I was so interested in like the Buddy Hields of the world and true knockdown bona fide shooters. That's why I would love if Evan Fournier would actually get minutes and hit threes. We know it's not going to happen, but that's what he was brought here to do. We need pure knockdown three-point shooters. I think that'll help with the spacing, which will help with the passing, which will help with the assist numbers. It's all relative. Because, yeah, I think, you know, when you could just sink in on the ISO players and you're not worried about the shooters as much. So for now, I guess the answer would be more consistency from RJ, IQ, shooting threes, Grimes, if he takes that next leap, which we think he can. I think that'll help a lot. But, yeah, we also don't run a whole lot of stuff that, you know, even when Obi was here, I was always screaming for that backdoor lob that was always there. And only Brunson and Quickley would really throw it. No one else would even see it. So hopefully it gets better. I think the shooting will help that.
And just going to the other guys here, Hector, man, please tell me, what do you think? Do you agree with the guys here? Do you think that it's, especially what Jerry said, I agree. I think that in terms of just getting more playmakers around the team, especially some people who can create from three, that's going to mean a lot. They obviously signed Dante DiVincenzo. We saw him actually help with a little bit of the playmaking. He had a real nice pass to Evan Fournier in the preseason game. Do you think that his addition to the team is going to help with the assist? And just overall, what do you think of the Knicks assist game in general?
Well, to piggyback off of both Phil and Jerry, I agree. When it comes to our three-point shooting, it has to be better, especially from the corner. Last year, when you look at it, we were probably in the bottom half of the league when it comes to corner three-pointers. But I feel now this year with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett, all three of their roles are already established. Last year, you kind of saw like Julius, Jalen, and RJ trying to figure out who's going to be A, who's going to be B, and who's going to be C. Now we know that Jalen's the number one option, Julius is number two, and RJ is number three. Then you bring up other guys like Dante DiVincenzo, and then you got Josh Hart. Those guys, they have their contracts. They're already set in stone. They don't have to worry about getting their points up. They just got to worry about playing team ball. You may see IQ go heavy ISO just because he wants to make sure he secures that bag. But I think when it comes to our top three dogs, Julius, Jalen, and RJ, they're established. And I think with the camaraderie with the three of them being here for multiple seasons together, you see the assist numbers go up from those three.
Talk about Immanuel quickly. I remember watching the game. The preseason game. I tried to count how many assists he had. I think I could count them on my hand. On one hand, this boy was looking for his shot. He wants the bag
every time.
Oh, he wants
every
to
time. Bang.
Absolutely. Jigga, what do you feel, man, with this Knicks team? I think obviously when you have playmakers on the team like Brunson, his approach is a little bit more methodical, right? Other than Quickley. I feel like when he's in the game, he'll have a little bit more ball movement when he's really the primary point guard. When it's Jalen, he'll break down a defense first, and then when he's in the paint, he'll make a decision. Either I can take it or I can pass it and get the other guy involved. Do you think you need more playmakers like Jalen involved to kind of make that decision? Or do you really just think we need a free-flowing offense? Because to Jerry's point, we don't really run anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it since last season, right? And based on the stats you threw out right off the gate, obviously it's been multiple seasons, right? We just try to forget it as a new season starts. Like Phil said it. I hate the fact that we're always passing that ball out when there's 3 seconds left on the clock, right? It's the hot potato, Mitch will fumble it, whoever it's tossed to doesn't know what to do, and then we're just chucking it up, right? When it comes to Jalen Brunson, I'll say it to you because you're a fellow Jets fan, but it's kind of like how Breece Hall knows how to attack, right? He just swerves. Brunson can break down that defense getting in there. Okay, you like how I did that?
I was thinking if I should leave. I might bounce, fellas. I can't believe we just slipped in a Jets comment. He slipped
the Wi-Fi is messed up. The Wi-Fi is messed up.
Back, all right? But it's, yeah, like I was laughing when I was seeing on the timeline the other night during the preseason game. People were like, oh, we're passing so much more. I was like, first of all, we're playing a G League team. We're not passing more. It felt like we're playing hot potato, right? Keep away. Don't let them touch the ball. Would I love to see us pass more? We have to.
Yeah.
Right. The issue is too, guys, if you remember how many times when we saw games where we actually were passing, you'd have guys like Grimes who were scared to take a shot. You had IQ who wouldn't throw it up. Right. So then it's like you're counting it as a pass, but then the guy's passing it off, afraid to shoot.
Yeah.
We need to pass, but be confident in the shot. And I think that's going to really propel us a lot this season. But we definitely got to pass, man.
Absolutely agree. And now I can finally talk about what I've been waiting to talk about for so long. This preseason game, man. There's a couple of Knicks that impressed me a lot. We can go through the roster, right? Some people, I mean, you could have took money from me thinking Evan Fournier was going to make an appearance. That was a shocker. I mean, all the comments that he made over the offseason. He didn't have a connection with the coach, doesn't like the way practices are run, doesn't like the Knicks move. But I think I understand why they did it, though. I mean, you have to get his value up somehow. He's at the bottom of the floor right now. You're not going to trade him for anything, especially without adding some type of draft compensation. But going back to the people who impressed you the most, who did impress you the most for the preseason game that we saw? Let's go over to let's go start with Hector. Actually, Hector, who do you think impressed you the most during preseason when you watched the game? Just after you looked at everything, maybe you had to take a day, rest on it a little bit, and then you came back to it. Who impressed you the most out of that game?
Honestly, Jericho Sims' hair impressed me the most. As somebody that has a hard time with growing hair, I was very impressed with Jericho Sims. No, and honestly, I was impressed by both Mitchell Robinson and Immanuel Quickley. They seem like they bulked up a little bit, and I know in the offseason, Mitchell Robinson likes to show him shooting threes at like the youth centers and the YMCA, but I'm glad that it kind of looks like he worked on his footwork, and that's the one thing that I've been preaching. So you know, every time I talk to you about Mitchell Robinson, I've been preaching for Mitchell Robinson to work on his footwork, and he looked a little bit good. I want to see the evolution of Mitchell Robinson this season. I meant to bring up when I was talking about Jalen Brunson on the last topic that I think with Jalen Brunson playing in the Olympics, Jalen Brunson, I saw him dish out more alley-oops than I've ever seen Jalen Brunson in a short period of time. So I could see Mitchell Robinson and Jalen Brunson having that connection this season.
Absolutely. I mean, 6 minutes, 10 points. I mean, if you watched it, the Mitchell Robinson alley-oop, he did two things with that. He played Mitchell Robinson to get him the alley-oop. Another play coming down, he used the threat of the same thing he did to lob it to him, but then he got open and shot the shot. We
know Mitchell Robinson can handle the average to below average NBA center in the league. We know that. We need him to step his game up when it comes to going against Bam Adebayo or whoever else who's on that elite side of the centers.
Jigga, what about you, Jigga? Who impressed you the most during preseason?
It was funny because I was going to say no one, okay? Because I was like, I can't really judge anybody when we're going up against a G League team and all backups, you know, and let's be real. There was some parts in the beginning we looked super sloppy once Jalen came out. You know, it's like, wait a minute, how are we keeping it this close with the G League? But I'm with Hector on this, man. You know, Mitch looked like he bulked up, right? Seeing him actually with that dunk and then hold on for a second. And I was like, okay, let's see if he can land. Like, show me you can land, right? Because let's be real, we all were scared every time that man went up last season. Like, oh my God, he's going to hurt something when he falls down. So seeing him bulk up and then he was actually able to land. We need Mitch in a big way, man, right? We know he's going to give us those blocks. We know, you know, the record books he's chasing as a Knick, you know, when it comes to blocks and stuff like that. And his rebounds are big. So I would have to say definitely Mitch was the highlight for me in this preseason. And he actually got minutes, right? We kind of made sure the guys that were already warmed up were there. Harden didn't get to play. So, yeah, definitely with Mitch's way.
And if you listen to his trainer, I mean, he's been working to some back to the basket moves.
Let's be real, though. Those videos they leaked, right, where he was shooting and we're like, oh, look, he's got a shot. We're like, first of all, that was and then it was only one shot we saw. Okay, I was like, we all know he throws it from his damn chin. Let's not lie, okay? But it was nice to see him work on a floater.
You should have saw Jerry's face when you made that comment because he couldn't even look at the camera. He had to go like this. He looked everywhere else but the camera.
It's the same shot on loop for like 15 seconds. That's what it was.
Oh, my goodness. Jerry, what about you, man? Who your takeaways from preseason? What did you like? Who impressed you the most from the Knicks?
So that look you saw wasn't even about what Jigga just said, because it's about what I'm about to say, and I can't believe I'm going to say these words that are about to come out of my mouth. But I saw, God, your fans are going to be so mad at me right now.
Thank you all for tuning in. And here we go.
Yeah, I should just mute myself after this, but I saw the glimpse of the version of Evan Fournier that could just help. I don't need 30 minutes from you. I don't need 25 minutes from you. I need 12 minutes. I need you to he shot 3 for 7 from 3. I know it was against limited defense. Come in, get up 4 3-pointers, and get out. That's it. Space the floor. If you're hot, roll with him. I'm talking about regular season. I don't want to see him against the Cavs in the playoffs. I get it. Tibbs will go to his 7-man rotation. I know that. But when we're looking at a team that doesn't truly have the backup power forward, and we're like, all right, maybe it's Josh Hart. Great. You can't really run that second unit out there if it's going to be Hart, DiVincenzo, Quickley. If Quickley's having an off night, there's no shooting on that second unit. And I'm not going to say I was like impressed with Fournier, but I saw the version of him that could chip in. It's like we're all going to go get food, right? You got steak. He got and then like Fournier's going to have like, I'm going to get a little salad. And like, we're going to make him pay for all the food that we ate. It's like, just pay for your salad, bro, even though he's filthy rich. And don't you love a world where you can like talk shit about your boss like publicly? I don't like the way he runs practice. Yeah, but I'm still getting my $15 million this year, and I don't like the way he runs practice.
So, hey, Troy, can I ask Jerry a question, bro?
You absolutely
can.
I
can't believe I said that. I'm shocked.
No, Jerry, I respect it, bro. Did you close your eyes every time he was on defense? Like, is that what happened?
Yes,
because we saw this.
Yeah.
Right. And when we talked about the assists, like the Knicks offense is ISO and offense from defense and transition. Now we lost one of our best transition players in Obi Toppin, right? Gave him up for nothing. So I think the transition offense will still be okay. But look, we need shooting. And again, I'm not saying I want Fournier to play 30 minutes. I don't. But man, can we plug him in? Can you make $1 million a minute? Can we get 15 minutes out of him? Just hoist up 5 threes and get out. That's it.
So let me ask you this, Jerry. So all right. I'm not an Evan Fournier fan. I'm never gonna be.
Neither am I.
He's a turnstile on defense. It's just like everything he gives you, he gives you right back. I agree. It just goes right around in a circle. But here's the thing: if you give him minutes, whose minutes are you taking away?
I think if you look at that second, I don't think you're taking away. I think in the regular season, I think you're maybe not running Julius Randle into the ground without a backup power forward. Truly, I mean, I know Josh Hart said he's willing to do it, and I think he can do it. So what I'm saying is maybe Julius Randle isn't averaging 38 minutes a game. Maybe he's averaging 35, and maybe he plays a little bit with that second unit. I'm literally talking 8 to 12 minutes. I keep dropping it. It was 15. Now it's 12.
I keep convincing, but here's this. So I keep convincing you to drop it. Here's another drop. Tell me who normally is one of the league leaders in minutes played per game every season.
Julius Randle. Yeah. Oh, no, I know that. And maybe now as he approaches 30, maybe we could just dial it back because he does get hurt. And I think he's a very durable player, but man, that's a lot of miles. I get it. The playoffs go with it. I don't know if I want to see the Hartenstein and Sims playing the 4. It's going to get real weird. Tibbs is going to love that shit. Excuse my language. Tibbs is going to love that.
Yeah.
Just give me 10 minutes of threes, Evan Fournier. Come on, man. He shot 3 for 7, so I liked what I saw.
If I can, I just want to just help out the conversation. I honestly feel if Josh Hart was available to play, we wouldn't have seen Evan Fournier come off.
You're right.
Bench.
You're right.
If this was a regular season game and Josh Hart was available, we would have never seen Fournier. We would have never saw Jericho Sims as a power forward.
But for sweetener, if there's a move out there to be made for the Knicks, whether it's at the deadline or whatever, Evan Fournier is a part of that because he's an expiring contract that will match up. So would it hurt if it's like, hey, you know what? Evan Fournier is playing 12 minutes a game. He's shooting 40% from 3. He's getting 3 shots. He's shooting 1 for 3 or 2 for 5 every game. Would that kill whatever little player we're targeting at the deadline? Maybe not. But and look, I did like what I saw from Jacob Toppin a little bit. I hope he makes the team. It would be a nice story. Yeah. I don't think he's going to. But I just, 2 blocks, defensive minded player. I liked what I saw there too.
Absolutely.
He looks like a better defensive player than Obi.
Oh, he is. I'm sorry to say, I already created a video on that, or I dropped it. Jacob Toppin defensively looks a little bit better than Obi. I mean, Obi obviously is better offensively right now. But I think any coach would tell you, if you come into the league, they'd rather you be defensive minded first because that's harder to teach when you're coming into the league, especially in the NBA. Way harder to teach, trying to be locked in and focused on defense. Easier for your
Tibbs said
offense to
something,
come.
right?
Yeah,
this week,
Tibbs said
right, where he
something.
actually said where he is defensively now. Obi's not there, like the way he was comparing to. Yeah,
a little shot, some
defensively, he looked
shots.
great.
That was some shots from
I'm
Tibbs.
just saying, it wasn't real. Pew, 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 pew.
So it was see I don't know if it was necessarily some shots, because what he did say is a very Tibbs minded like statement. He said Obi Toppin is a superior now and probably superior later offensive player, and Jacob is a superior defensive player,
right?
Which shows why Obi Toppin, on a team that doesn't really thrive on trying to be something powerful offensively, was traded away. And right now, where they're taking looks at the brother who is more defensive minded. So it wasn't necessarily a shot, in my opinion. Like, I like to call Tibbs out when I feel like there's any shade there. But he did say what it was. Like, no one's going to say that Obi Toppin is a powerhouse defensively right now, but we will say that he can really make an offense thrive. And that's what it was. So, but anyway, that's my thoughts on that comment.
I apologize, Phil. I know you're still trying to recover from the Obi trauma. I'm sorry.
I'm not recovered either. Phil, I'm with you. I haven't recovered quite either.
Listen, I would have recovered if the return wasn't second-round picks near 2030. I would have recovered then. But to trade a top 10 pick, how about this? To devalue a top 10 pick to the point where you have to trade him for 2 second-round picks, and then sell me the story that you did it because you wanted to give him a better, ending and help his career. That's great. Awesome. It's still a business to not get anything significant back.
And you're trading him to the all-NBA player you passed on to draft him.
Right.
What have we done?
Who's going to probably get him in his sleep, get Obi to 15 points a game by accident with lobs and transition. So, that one hurts because, I don't know. I'm emotional about Obi too. That one definitely stung a little bit.
Well, here's the biggest part, guys, right? What's the biggest need for the Knicks right now?
Exactly.
A backup, power forward.
And we traded him
Power
all the way
forward
to
and
Indiana.
shooting, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Hold up. Before recap, I just wanted to chime in on what everyone was talking about of like the player. I think one thing that we need to realize is that in that time that Mitchell Robinson was in there, I personally feel like, yes, it was the G League team, but when we talk about our insufficiencies as a team, something that we still saw our insufficiencies against that team was, once again, especially in that first half, our shooting. And Mitchell Robinson proves time and time again that we do not get good offense without his opportunities that he gives us again by grabbing those offensive rebounds. Regardless of what you think of his play, I feel like offensively he showed improvement. Unfortunately, there was tons of chatter about his free throws being better, and those still look like an atrocious situation throughout that game.
Yeah.
But that was the highlight for me, was seeing with Mitchell Robinson. But also, even though he was not great offensively, RJ Barrett from the line showed a lot of improvement and promise. I think he was 9 for 9.
Yeah, perfect.
And our problem with last season was that he would get to the line, not be able to finish on the shot, but then we got no points out of it as well. Now, okay, if you're going to get hit so hard that you can't make the bucket, but you're going 9 for 9, that is, blessing for us that you're capitalizing on those 3 points. So I'm hoping that that's something that we see going into the season, is actual consistency, because I'm fine with him getting knocked around on his way in as long as he produces from the line and gets those points up. That will easily get him to those all-star numbers that he wants to be at. If we look at how many free throws he missed last season per game, and added those points to what he actually averaged, he would have those all-star numbers. So if he gets those free throws, it could make a huge difference.
And here's the thing, and it's the show script, because we're going in really to RJ Barrett and his comments about basically chemistry and building on that, because Essentially, RJ Barrett, when he was interviewed by the New York Post, shout out to them, he said the following. I think that experience, especially for me personally, and a couple of guys that were here, definitely keeps knowing that going into the season, we have to come out with the same fight and energy like we did last year. He basically was saying that, everybody who's listening, because after the Knicks made the playoffs during the COVID year, that next year they fell flat on their face. I think they had 37 wins, didn't make the playoffs, won a failure of a season. And then obviously they have another bounce back year where they make the playoffs. So a lot of people are concerned that perhaps history will repeat itself and, they'll just not go back to the playoffs again. But RJ Barrett speaking to the fact that right now the team is a little bit different because other than the Obi Toppin trade and Dante DiVincenzo being added, everybody's still more or less the same. So the chemistry he's talking about building on, it's still there. So what do you guys think? I'll start with you, Jerry. What do you think in regards to RJ Barrett's comments on building on this continuity? That's basically the key word coming out of camp right now, right? What do you think about them doing that? And what do you think it means for the New York Knicks in regards to heading into this Eastern Conference that's stacked right now, building on this continuity?
I think it was a very mature thing to say, but it's not addition from subtraction because we didn't lose a lot. We talked about Obi, but yeah, I think that continuity, especially in the East now with their, yes, a lot of teams got a lot better and it's going to be a problem, but they're going to have to work some stuff out. I really don't think the NBA, we even saw it with Phoenix where it's not an immediate, oh, well, you got your stars, plug and play and go. So I think we got to stack wins early. And I think teams like the Knicks that have that continuity could do that. But in my mind, I really want to get out of the gate strong and stack those wins early. Because then I think when a lot of those top tier teams, Milwaukee, Boston, figure it out, who knows what happens with Philly, I think it's going to get a little tougher as we get toward February, March. So I think that was a very astute thing to say. And Dante DiVincenzo is, I know he was not been in New York before, but that definitely is a camaraderie pick there. So I don't think there's going to be a huge break-in period for him. So yeah, I think that was a great thing to say. And look, we're betting on the reason why we didn't do that Mitchell trade is because in my mind, it's like, well, we'll just try to sign him when he's available and let's keep what we have going. Yeah. And now guys got to step up. Guys got to take the leap. And we're looking at Grimes. We're looking at Quickley. And we're looking at RJ to a degree. So guys got to take that next step if we want to compete with those top teams that made a lot of fancy moves this offseason.
And RJ Barrett, the thing about him, and we're going to go to Phil right now, excuse me, but RJ Barrett, for me, this is his year. This is the year that he needs to do it because I'll say it again. I don't care what your age is. NBA years is NBA years. And if your NBA seasons are defined by slow starts, that's not the legacy you want to leave behind. This year is the chance for him to break it. He did good with FIBA, with Team Canada, took home bronze medal. Great, understood it. Now it's the time to use that to make sure you don't get off to a slow start. And I hope that's what he builds on with that continuity. Phil, what do you think about RJ Barrett's comments, and how do you see the Knicks stacking up in this stacked Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I think it's a good comment, but I also feel like, yes, he's young, but he's got NBA years. He's been able to kind of figure out the right things to say, and so what does the continuity mean? There's different ways of defining it, because continuity is a good thing because you have that chemistry, you're able to build off of something that's there, but there's also the opposite extreme where because of the continuity, there becomes a comfortability and a complacency that can be a huge problem because yes, you're comfortable with each other, but are you comfortable with how you guys achieved or didn't achieve last season? Are you so, fine with that continuity of keeping that same pace? Because a lot of these other teams don't want to be at that same pace, which is why they made some big trades and they made some big moves because they don't want to just continue on the trajectory that they were at. They wanted to speed it up or improve it. So I think the continuity is important in the sense of we're comfortable with each other. We know how to play for and with each other. I think that is a huge bonus. I personally don't like robbing everything that you have in a star trade and hoping that it works. You know, like I do like the approach of continuing to build on what you have and like let the firm foundation be what keeps you sustaining for the future. But I think the key for this season on the continuity is that the continuity of the guys that have been there and the continuity that the Villanova boys have aren't two separate continuities. That it actually becomes a whole thing where everyone's playing for each other. Because I was talking about it the other day on my show with Triple M. One thing that they said in an interview, you know, is that Jalen was like, yeah, these guys joke a lot about, you know, how this is changing the culture, da 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 da. And I'm like, I've always heard since I was young, there's always a little bit of truth to a joke if the joke continues to happen. So if there's ever and you look in that same kind of interview, RJ Barrett talked about Julius Randle, and Julius Randle talked about moving his agency because of RJ Barrett. So as long as there's not like divides of like real camaraderie here and then real camaraderie there, and we look out for each other here, we look out for each other there, if those lines can be split and all be one unit, then I think we could do good.
You're scaring me, Phil. You just scared me. My first heart flutter of the preseason. You just scared me with a very good point and brought me right back to high school.
I just had to say, man, that's Phil, man. I love it, man. That's a great point, actually, man. I love that. Different types of continuity and all together buying in together. Phil, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question. No need to go to Hector. Right,
Anyways, forget you guys. We're just gonna close out with these guys. Seriously though, Jigga, if you could right now with regards to RJ Barrett, I kind of skip over RJ Barrett's comments and maybe just go more into with the East, because if you guys didn't know, with the executives of the NBA right now, they're polled. You know, the GM survey, they do it every year, and one of the things that they said about the Knicks, maybe good or bad, is they're basically going to get back to where they were before. According to Zach Brazil of the New York Post, general managers have the Knicks finishing 5th in the Eastern Conference. Jigga, is that fair? Do you see the Knicks finishing there, or is that a little too high for them? Maybe a little too low?
I think it's funny, right? Because last season we were all like, I can't believe they put us that low. Like they didn't even count us in, right? Well, I think they had us not even as a play-in, right? Like maybe a play-in team. And then we had the season we had. Now I'm scared that they're saying, hey, we're a 5th, you know, we're the 5th. I'm like, oh my God, that's not good. Now we have expectations. So I never buy into it. Yeah. But, you know, kind of like Phil was just saying with the continuity stuff, it's like when you're practicing and you're not practicing the right way, right? What's the point of practicing? So hopefully this camaraderie that they're building actually pays off. But, man, I'm worried that any praise given to this team right now goes to their head and they think they're better than they are. Yeah. You still have a lot to work on. I'm happy with how things went last season, right? But we're asking a lot for it to be repeated, right? And, Jerry, you said it off the gate, man. We need to stack those wins early, okay? So –
I'm just getting nervous in general.
Wait, I just got a text from Jerry. I no longer can do them. What do you mean, bro?
You're getting nervous. Hector, back. I'm scared right now.
No, I think I could bring us back. I think I could bring us back, right?
Let me know.
When you look at this team, right, we finally have a level of consistency we haven't had in a long time when it comes to the front office, when it comes to the coaching staff, and even when it comes to the players. Yeah. So I always like to say, you can tell how a team season is going to go from the first 10 to 20 games of the season, building off of that early momentum. So when you look at the Knicks schedule for the first 10 games, the first 4 games, we play the Celtics, the Hawks, the Pelicans, and the Cavs. I'm going with what happened last season, and off of those first 4 games, we could go an easy 3-1. Right, I'm throwing it out there. We're probably going to lose against the Celtics, but I think we could beat the Hawks. I think we could beat the Pelicans, and I think we could beat the Cavs. When you look at the next 6 games, we play the Raptors twice. I think we could win both of those games. We play the Jazz. I think we could win that game, but then we play the Suns, which I'm throwing it out there. We're probably going to lose that game against the Suns. Yeah. When it comes to the Clippers, we can win that game. We'll probably lose the game against the Lakers. So we could easily go 7-3, or we could go 3-7. It all depends on the momentum this team has going into the first 10 games of the season. But, Jerry, I'm with you, bro. I'm leaning more towards a 7-3 start for the first 10 games. With RJ Barrett's comments, Troy, I think it's very important because –
Hold on. I'm sorry. 7-3?
The first 10 games.
I'll take it. Give it to me right now. Sign.
Because look at the teams that I said. Hold on, let me go back to the first 4 games.
Well, I think it's a home and home with the Cavs.
It's the first back-to-back is against the Cavs. But here's the thing.
The first back-to-back is against the Raptors. That's the first back-to-back against the Raptors.
The first. Well, I mean, in terms
home
of
and home,
team,
like they play.
New
York.
Yeah. Cleveland. But I'm talking about I think ESPN actually called it. Bobby Marks, shout out to him, stated that the New York Knicks actually had the hardest schedule to start off the NBA season. So 7-3 is hard. I mean, for me, I would be happy if they split it 5-5 because you could go either way with that schedule. I mean, even some of those sneaky teams, like I'm always worried about Toronto. Toronto's always scary for us. So we always have problems with them. And then obviously you have people who want to make a career year over there. They have OG, Pascal Siakam, and Gary Trent. All of them have no ties at all.
4 protected first round pick, OG Anunoby. That's what to trade for him. Remember, like they were asking 4 unprotected first. You mean that absolutely. OG Anunoby's trying to get? Because I think he's like the most valued player in the league. 4 unprotected first round picks they were asking last year.
Absolutely.
That was crazy.
And the Knicks, I think the Knicks actually tried to give them 4 protected picks. Obviously, Masai Ujiri didn't want to do anything like that. He likes to fleece teams. Well, you know what? I like people like that. It's okay because you know what? Now all the players that he wanted to keep have no ability to stay with them anymore. They can leave. OG Anunoby, for one, is a CAA client, and we know how the Knicks are with CAA clients. So I just want to put that out there. You guys answered the question about the with the Knicks being more or less 5th, right? My thing with them is I feel like the Knicks being in the Eastern Conference, right? That 3rd spot is wide open, depending on who gets to the first hot start first, right? If the Knicks get off to a hot start, they'll take it, right? The Cavs do it, they'll take it. You could even make the argument that the Hawks could potentially do it, and they could take it. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, as I was saying, that 3rd spot's interesting because you would say maybe realistically Miami is the 3rd best team in the league, but they start, so they got their own pace for the regular season. They have a whole different formula that really works. Yeah. Philly is such a mess. You could also pencil in Philly. They got the reigning MVP, arguably one of the, 2nd or 3rd best player in the league, but they're a little bit of a mess. So yeah. But as a battered Knicks fan, I think I'm the oldest guy in this room right now. I don't know. Maybe Porto, you got me by a minute. I don't know. I'm a beaten down person. Like you want to say 5 seed? Done. Would you not sign, seal, and deliver that? If you could just say right now, sight unseen, 5th seed. Take it or leave it. I'm in.
Okay. Hold on.
Take it.
Hold on. Let's
easy choice.
Let's fill in the more blanks here. So fine, that happens. Let's say you get lucky again. You beat whoever you get in the first round, right? And then the second round, you're probably either facing Milwaukee or Boston.
Does it really matter? Because if you're the 3 seed, you're going to be facing the second round. You're going to be facing one of those 2 teams too. So it don't matter to me. If you get out of the first round, I don't even care about home court advantage at this point. 5 seed, done. My goal is give me a top 6 seed. Wow. My goal last year is get me to the play-in game, right? And they beat that. So if you get a top 6 seed, I want playoff games. That's all I want for myself, my children. I want playoff games. That's it.
I hear you. I love it. Let's go over to well, you know what? I have another question actually for the room actually, and anybody can open it. I'll actually to Phil because Phil's been really quiet over there. He gave a real good take, calmed down a little bit.
Back.
I gotta call my therapist after Phil's take and be like, is there 2 camaraderies that I don't know about?
I gotta ask because this is I think this is more or less the question that a lot of fans really have, right? It's the star question. It's the star. And really, when you talk about the stars, I talk about realistic stars, right? Donovan Mitchell's always going to be there. And I think Joel Embiid, because of the connections, are always going to be there, even though you can make the argument that dealing with Daryl Morey is a whole nother situation in itself. But let's talk about that because the Knicks has just been linked with every single star imaginable. I feel like it's every star imaginable this offseason. I can remember they were linked to them. But my question to you guys is, Phil, who is the most realistic star for the Knicks to go after, and who do you think they're actually going to land?
Yeah, so we were talking about this in our group chat a little bit earlier, and I side with Jerry on this because like I said earlier, I don't really like the whole robbing your franchise to go in on a star in hopes that that happens. And then if that falls through, you are then completely back to square one, rebuilding. You got rid of your potential up and coming draft picks that showed promise and did a great job. And you no longer have those backups, to lean on. So me personally, you don't get situations like Boston got, like recently. Like you don't get that very often where you already have 2 stars, a great player like Kristaps comes available, you get him and Drew Holiday in the same freaking offseason, and you don't pretty much have to rob yourselves of your future either. Like you even kept your 6th man, that you've loved and built up in Derek White. That stuff doesn't happen. So for me personally, I don't want the players that could possibly be great, but you have to get rid of everybody, like a Joel Embiid situation. Because if it doesn't work out, then what does that mean after that, So I would be fine with the Donovan Mitchell thing because he's coming off of his contract very soon. The Cleveland Cavaliers know that he's not re-signing. Like, it's not a hidden thing at all. It's like walking through the high school halls and everyone has talked to you about how your friend's girlfriend is going to break up with him, and he's the only person that doesn't know about it. That's how Cleveland would be if they didn't know. Everyone knows that it's happening. So if they trade for him, they can't rob a team because they know that it's either get what you can get or let him walk at the end of the season. So whether he walks or gets traded, he wants to be in New York. And I think that would be the best situation for us. Buy into the guys that you bought into, the guys that have put blood, sweat, and tears into getting us to where we're at. That's why Jerry said 5th seed. Yes, if we get a 5th seed, I'm very happy. Because yes, we have Josh Hart and all this stuff now, but we're not the only team that did anything, in the past year and a half. There's a lot of teams that have done things, even the Cleveland Cavaliers. We forget that they've added sharpshooters from other teams that were the nail in our freaking coffin for all the games that we played them with Niang and with Strus. All those guys killed us, and now they're all on one team. So I would be fine with a 5th seed, get into the playoffs. I would love to see us get past the 2nd round. By a miracle, that'll happen. I don't see us beating the Celtics 3-0 like we did last season. So regardless of who we have on our team now, we're not getting those kind of wins this season. But get at least to the 2nd round with that continuity. Build something to where a star still wants to come to us, and then take it as it is. We're not getting a chip this year. So people that are hoping for that, get over it. Let's think about what we could do for next season as well.
Come on, Hector, get over it. All right, we're not winning a chip. All right, get over it.
I'm just saying. I'd said 7-3. I almost got beat up on screen. So I'm just saying. I think anytime Phil says continuity, we need to take a shot. All right?
What are your thoughts, Hector, on the Knicks superstar chase here? Do you think they're gonna eventually land their superstar, or what do you think is gonna happen with that?
I think they're eventually going to land the superstar. It's just who is that superstar that they're going to land. When it comes to Donovan Mitchell, the asking price or what Cleveland can get back in a return trade for Mitchell is not what they gave up to get Donovan Mitchell, right? No, teams aren't going to trade for Mitchell and give that many assets up knowing that he's not going to resign with you. So the asking price has fallen down dramatically. My dream scenario is Joel Embiid. Right. Yes. I understand what Phil said and what Jerry said about not selling too much of our future. I get that. But if there is a player to sell off draft picks for, it's Joel Embiid. That's the player. Joel Embiid, Joker. I know he ain't going to get traded, but I'm just saying hypothetically, Giannis, those are the type of players that you give up 5 draft picks for some young talent because they're game-changing and they're game-changing talents in this league. Now, Daryl Morey, that's a different scenario right there because James Harden then said he's a liar. You can't trust Daryl Morey, right? So you don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. I think it's going to get volatile a lot quicker than a lot of people are expecting just because they signed Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre and James Harden, they have beef with each other because of whatever relationship issues that goes on behind the scenes. So that situation in Philly is going to get a lot nastier very soon. So I think they will blow that team up before the trade deadline. So I can see if the Knicks are hanging around, if the asking price is nice, you never know, just because of how bad that situation is going to get in Philadelphia.
You know, it's funny that you said that because there was a report that came out by Steph Bondy who said that the most feasible in-season trade would be for Cat. And I asked that to an NBA insider I had on my show yesterday, and he said, well, yeah, but if the things in Philadelphia continue, and as long as James Harden is part of that team, you can never rule out an Embiid trade potentially mid-season. So it's very interesting. And like Jerry said before, the Evan Fournier contract, I mean, listen, you need it to make that to facilitate a star trade. And that's exactly what they're holding it on for. I mean, I think it's no secret that's the case. Jigga, what about you in regards to just the star for the New York Knicks? The most realistic, because for me, honestly, it's Donovan Mitchell. He controls his future. He wants to be in New York. He's a Mets fan. Orange and blue is already in its blood. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. I know people are talking about Brooklyn, but Brooklyn has enough rebuilds of stars that have came and left. I've seen a number of big threes there. The Deron Williams one. I remember Paul Pierce going over there. I remember D'Angelo Russell and, Kyle LeVert and Jared Allen, all these other young boys, and they traded all for Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and now they have Mikal Bridges. So they're continuing to do this stuff. So I'm not going to hear the conversation that he's going to Brooklyn, okay? If he goes to New York, he's coming to the Knicks. Who is the most realistic star, do you think, for the New York Knicks to go after?
I mean, it was literally, last week that Bondi was saying that we're still keeping an eye on Spider, Embiid, and Cat.
Yep.
I think I'm just at that point, guys, where I'm so tired of every single name being attached. Like, I spent last week hearing so much again about Zion Williams. Like, I'm just so over it. And it's like, it's easy to talk about, who can we go and get? But no one wants to talk about what are you giving up to get it, And I don't know. I don't feel like any of these guys, if I had a dream pick, you know what I mean? Like, to me, I'd rather talk about my dream. Like, could you imagine this team with SGA? Hey, you want to really feed into the Villanova thing? Go get Mikal Bridges, like things like that. But man, I'm not bending over backwards for any of the ones we're talking about, guys. I'm sorry.
What does that mean, though?
I don't think it changes.
Do you mean you're not going to? So, like, if you had a chance to get Joel Embiid, but let's say the asking price was astronomical. Maybe it's RJ Barrett, it's Immanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, and, four first-round picks, 2 unprotected, 2 protected.
No.
Would you do it?
No.
You wouldn't do that for Joel Embiid.
And here's the reason why. And I see Heck going crazy with the head nod. You just gave up all the guys that we're talking about right now that we're hoping have a good season so we can actually be this 5th seed we're talking about. We bring Joel Embiid, and then you're like, hey, there's no RJ, there's no Grimes. So what? Now we've got Toppin's brother, we've got DiVincenzo, Brunson, Randall. And then hey, let's.
But some people do argue a Brunson and just Joel combination could potentially get you all the way there. So imagine if you could retain a guy like a Randall, or maybe you keep a Grimes in there. I see Phil I see Phil shaking his head.
Jerry's biting his lips.
And Jerry's like this. So I don't know which one to go to first.
Go ahead.
Whoever wants to take it.
I just would
Jerry,
worry.
I'll let you go first.
I would just worry about a few things. First of all, I think Embiid's incredible.
Right.
We have a long history of getting centers and players that are just like, you missed the window. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Embiid because he's been very healthy, and I hope he stays that way.
Right.
I do worry a little bit about him and Randall on the same court. That's a lot. I mean, they kind of play the same position, meaning they take the same spots up on the court, whether it's elbow, semi-post, face up. So, like, I think that might be a weird – I don't know if Randall would have to be a part of that deal. If you're telling me it's Embiid and then, maybe it's farewell Randall, and then you're still going to try to loop Donovan Mitchell in, if you're telling me it's Brunson, Mitchell, Embiid, and then, if we had to give up Quentin Grimes, RJ, I could make that's got to be the plan. As far as the other trade, first of all, the NBA, there's going to be a disgruntled star any minute. And that person has not yet shown themselves. So
I'll check Twitter right now and see what happens.
We gotta wait, but yeah, and like the Towns stuff, I like Towns. I mean, I think he's one of the best shooting bigs of all time. But like that contract is something to really think about. And so, yeah, I mean, I just don't, I think we still don't know. I mean, Giannis is like the crown jewel, right? And they're going to have a window, like a 2-year window here where he's going to get his chance to win and get his chips. If that doesn't work out, I know it's years away, and he put it out there with the owner, basically saying, like, if you stop spending and doing all this stuff, I'm out.
Yeah.
That really is something I'm monitoring, and maybe that's the long-term play. And if this thing with, if this trade with Dame doesn't work out, that could very well happen. So
to jump off of that real quick, and Phil, I won't be long, but you said it, Jerry. I love that because, again, any trade like an Embiid, it's what's the other piece that's coming with it. If we're giving all this up, what's the other piece that makes it that it's a whole unit that really works? Right. Just getting it for the name, I don't get excited about.
I'm willing to give the picks up, though. I know we all look at these picks. Knicks fans are also tortured from like not having picks for years in the Phil Jackson era where we didn't pick, and when we did pick, it was not great. But we've now stacked these picks that we're trading out of lottery positions. We're not going to necessarily be a lottery team at this point, or we'll be at the very tail end. So protect the picks if you can, make them top tier protected, and just send them. But I'd rather hang on to guys like RJ, Grimes, Quickley, and send the picks out because, like, where are they? Like right now, they're just things that we don't know. Like I'd rather get players for those picks at this point.
Phil, yeah. I'm waiting on you. I know you're holding back. You've been shaking your head the entire time.
Let's get our shots ready.
I'm worried here. I'm worried here, Phil. It's on you, brother. Please go ahead.
So this is my thing with the Joel Embiid thing. Like I understand people believe this fantasy of Jalen Brunson and him are enough, okay? But I don't see it that way because if you look at it, besides all of his drama and all that crap and the fact that, like, he seems to be a loose cannon, when him and James Harden first started playing together, James Harden was still one of the best players in the league. Like, James Harden is a great player. And them two couldn't pull it off as just a two-person thing because teams started realizing, okay, just having two solid pieces and then a bunch of nothing around you is not enough. So teams started getting a third person again or building continuity throughout their whole roster. So if you look at it, continuity, grab your shot glass. And so if you look at it, like Jerry said, it would have to be, okay, Donovan's already in the bag. We already know that we're going to sign him in this offseason so we can trade certain things away. But also with the pick thing, I think the frustration with the picks thing is that we don't necessarily look at the whole scenario before we decide, yes, let's trade away our picks or let's not trade away our picks. I think it's one of those things like very much how we run our games. Like everything is pre-game decision instead of looking at what's actually happening in the moment. So when you look at the draft last year, the fact that a player like Cam Whitmore fell to like number 20 in the draft, and we still had a potential to pick something like that up and trade up for it, and we didn't, that's, I think, where people get frustrated with, some of the pick decisions because whether he was a bust or not, he's already starting to show crazy promise, So if it's a draft like that and you're like, holy crap, like up until 20-something, there's players that can actually contribute. So, yes, you're not going to give away 2 picks from that kind of draft. But if it's a draft where you're like, out of the first, 6 players, this draft is a bust, then hell yeah, trade away as many picks as you need to for that star. But you have to play it by ear. It can't just be a blanket statement of a fan base going, oh, yeah, trade all your picks for a star, when that draft could possibly have your star for the next, 5 to 10 years. So I think it's all situational. I think Embiid's a great player, but I think the idea of, oh, it's a fire right now in Philly, and when stars throw fits, they get their way kind of scenario. I think that Damian Lillard situation kind of can tell you that that might not be the case anymore. That was a perfect example of a star saying, I won't even show up if you trade me anywhere else. And the team going, cool, we're trading you somewhere else. So it's not like, the Kevin Durant and Kyrie situation where you pout like a baby anymore and you get your way. So they could have hellfire there, and Morey still say, no, you're staying.
Again, a great take, and I agree. But here's my thing, though, with the Embiid thing for me. I think there's certain players. Not every player can actually get this, but there's certain players that you give up things for. I'm not saying you give up the house, because you can't gut your team for a player either, because that doesn't leave you anything to actually contend with. But certain players, you have to take a look at, you have to go after, and if he's an MVP of the league, and not an MVP of the league like 5 years ago, he was just the MVP of the league.
Yeah.
And if he's available, I can't see a scenario in my head where nobody goes and just picks up the phone and calls and says why we can't get him over here. Go ahead, Hector, if you want.
Because I see what Phil is saying, but in the scenarios he brought up, you're missing the context, right? The scenario you brought up with Portland, he requested to go to Miami. Miami was trying to lowball Portland and not trying to give up assets in order to get Damian Lillard. So that's one thing. So I'm going to lay out a trade scenario. And if you don't want it, Phil, you can just hang up the phone. But if I'm Leon Rose, I'm calling up Philly. I'm offering Mitchell Robinson. I'm offering Immanuel Quickley. I'm offering RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier. Those are the 4 players that I'm offering up. I'm giving up 4 unprotected first-round picks from the Knicks, 2 of the Dallas protected first-round picks, and if they want a pick swap, they get a pick swap. We will have a starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, who will most likely be an all-star this year, either Quentin Grimes at the 2 guard, Josh Hart at the 3, Julius Randle, who was all-NBA last year, and Joel Embiid as the center, who was the MVP last year. You brought up James Harden and Joel Embiid playing good together. That's awesome. James Harden is a lot older, and his stamina is not the same, like Jalen Brunson's stamina is not the same. Tobias Harris is nowhere near on the same level like Julius Randle, right? So you could throw that out the window. So it's not just Jalen and Embiid. It's Jalen, it's Embiid, and it's Julius Randle.
Wow.
I'm not doing the deal.
Everybody said, "Oh,
wow!"
Hold on, I think Leon Rose is in the chat. He said, "Good try."
Listen.
I'm not doing it.
I don't want to keep you guys for too long. We've been running for a while. This has been when we get lost in great conversation like this. It's my favorite type of show to do, because we all were just basically fanning about the Knicks with the whole group of chat. I see everybody in there. Just getting lit and live with us. I really appreciate that. I want to get a quick comment from you guys really quick on just one more topic, and then I want to go to fan questions really quickly. I said quickly. Got to go to that guy. Immanuel Quickley. Value and extension. Now, this has been, for me, the biggest question mark the entire offseason. Immanuel Quickley's value tanked, in my opinion, because of the playoffs. I'm sorry. He was a $100 million man walking into the postseason, and that value dropped. Yep. My opinion right now, as I've heard it, both sides are a little bit apart. Knicks want to do 80, Quickley wants 100. In between, you maybe do 90, maybe with incentives for 10, maybe make it that way. That's where I think they're going to go with it. I peg him there. I feel like it would help the Knicks if they lock him down now, because I think we all know that trade, if it is going to come, it's not coming during the season, not that major one. It's coming the next offseason. So if you do moves now, you can prepare for that. You got to have some type of foresight. So what do you guys think, just really quickly? Jerry, I'll start with you. What do you think about Immanuel Quickley? Will he extend with the Knicks? And if so, what's the contract? What do you think is going to be?
I think he extends with the Knicks, and it's so hard to figure out, because like all you hear too is that the cap's going up, and we kind of had that mistake in the past where we heard that the cap was going up, and then a lot of guys got contracts. And you turn around, and then the cap flatlined for a few years. It's like, oh my God, Evan Turner's still rocking like $28 million a year. Like, we thought the cap went up. Like, yeah, it went up for a year, and then it flatlined. So if the cap is going to continue to escalate like they're predicting, then I could get myself to the place for the 100, because I think the 100 will end up being what 80, 85 is now. I do think he might have cost himself some dough for sure in the playoffs, like you said. But I mean, if you really look at it that way, a lot of guys in that Miami series cost themselves some money because that series was there to be won. I know Miami made it an ugly series and we didn't rise. So I think it does happen. I think it should happen. I think he gets pretty close to that 100 or gets that number ultimately. But you said maybe it's a little incentive based. Maybe it's loaded in a different way where it's not, just strategically to not completely kill your cap going forward.
Absolutely. Jigga, what do you think? What do you think is going to be the Immanuel Quickley number? And by the way, is he going to re-sign with the Knicks before the season starts?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in that 85 to 90 with the incentives like he's looking for, then yeah, he'd sign, right? I agree with both of you. I think his value went down in the playoffs, right? Like seeing the timeline after that preseason game, everybody's like, oh, right where he left off. I was like, no. Right where he left off, if you're talking about in season, oh, Mr. Almost Six Man, let's not say right where he left off because then that means he played like dog crap, right? And with, 21 points the other night, again, G League team. But
21 points, 8 of 14 shooting, 3 steals.
3 steals, right? Yeah. So, yeah, if we get that in season form, I'm okay. And I think we all would agree he should get his money, the Almost Six Man, right? And I think this year he does it. I think we're going to see that 85 to 90 with the incentives.
Oh, okay. Well, again, I think everybody's kind of agreeing with the same thing. I thought we were going to get a little resistance, actually, but I love it so far. Let's go over to Hector. Hector, what do you think with regards to Immanuel Quickley and his contract? What's the number going to be? What's his value?
Same year, 80 to 90 million, depending on the 4-year stretch when it comes to Immanuel Quickley. And he's going to sign that extension in Philly when he gets traded for Embiid. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, man. I just love looking at the faces when he says the Embiid stuff because everybody's faces that's a little different of a thing. Jerry's like, all right. And then
I've had so much anxiety tonight in the second half. You don't even know the conspiracy I just talked myself into while I'm sitting here staring and chewing on this pen. I don't even want to say what I just thought about.
Oh, now you gotta tell us, man.
You have to say it now. You can't.
Now you gotta say it.
All right. This is how my sick mind works. We're all sitting here taking a victory lap that Donovan Mitchell's coming, right? He's coming. Why would the Knicks trade for him? Right? He's coming. Okay, fine. I accept that. Well, you know what I would do if I'm the Cavs and I want to try to get as much value to trade him in a year, probably from February or maybe a year from the offseason is I start releasing the Brooklyn Nets smoke because he wants to go to New York, preferably the Knicks. But what would make the Knicks maybe throw in that extra pick or maybe even make it a trade and not just say, hey, we're going to sit out because no other team can offer New York except
Cut the feed.
The Brooklyn Nets. So if I'm the Nets too. If I'm the Nets, I'm saying, look, let's leak the same stuff. The Nets are very interested. We've talked about 3 firsts. We think we could sell him on Brooklyn. That's the only thing that can make the Knicks bite. Like if we're fishing, that's the only thing that might be the big. I just thought of that now because of you sick bastards.
All right, so
Phil, bring us back, Phil.
Hey. I just derailed the whole show. Keep your show going. I'm sorry, I just derailed. But man, you guys just messed me up.
And then you in turn messed us all up in the process. Phil, save us. Save us, Phil.
If Donovan Mitchell gets traded to Brooklyn now and we find out like that anything had to do with they listen to Jerry Ferrara, we're gonna have issues, bro.
Nobody listens to me. At least in my house.
Listen. He's coming here after we trade for Embiid. The spot's gonna open up on there. We got this, all right?
All right. So back to real life. When it comes to Immanuel Quickley, I think it's one of those you kind of showed your cards a little too early. Like with the I want to start, I want this kind of money before playoffs came, and then you didn't deliver in the playoffs. Like you talked a bunch about like, I'm worth this. This is what I've done. Yeah. And I think that we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now if he would have delivered in the playoffs. I think if he would have played that way in the playoffs, the extension would have already been signed.
Done.
So, and I hate to be like the conspiracy theorist and all that stuff, but I also think that like, I do feel like if they can come to an agreement, it will be signed. But I do believe that Dante DiVincenzo is insurance in case they can't come out with an agreement. Like a very similar style of player was brought on to our team that if the deal does not go through and Immanuel wants more than we're willing to give, we can fill that role easily with Dante DiVincenzo. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a different, filling, but I feel like that's a safety net for them because when you look at the interview, when he's talking about, the extension, and they're asking him the questions about the extension, Immanuel Quickley's in very much business mode right now. Like, it's not one of those, yeah, I really, really want to be a Knick, like you've had players that have been straight up, like Josh Hart. Like, I want to be a Knick. I want it to work out. This is home for me. These are my guys. I want to be here. Immanuel Quickley just said, I'm leaving that to my agent. Them and the Knicks will figure it out. He didn't even say, and our front office, he called them the Knicks, and the Knicks will figure it out. So I think he's going into this very businesslike. This is what I would like to see. I think that the Knicks will cap out at around 80 to 85 on that offer. I think if he's wanting more of the 90 to 100 that they were first talking about, I think that, he will not be re-signed and they'll kind of have to let him go. But I personally hope that they find a way to sign him because I do feel like if we are going to make any moves, that is a contract that would be valuable for us in that movement if he doesn't work out for us. But I personally do believe in buying into the players that have busted their butt to get us where they're at. And I think Immanuel Quickley is one of those. So I would personally like to see them re-sign him and him have longevity. But I don't know how much they care about loyalty in our front office, to be honest.
And there you have it, everybody. That is what we're talking about. That's Knicks talk. That's what I wanted to hear, man. I love conversations like this. If you do too, give some hearts, some comments in the chat. Right now, we're finally at that point of the time of the show. Leave those questions in the chat. I know you got questions for Jerry, for Phil, for Jigga, myself, Hector. If you do, drop them in the chat right now. I know some people did ask some questions, so I will scroll up a little bit to see what people have said. Let's see here. All right. Got a lot of people up here. People are loving the
I saw this one that says, who likes long walks on the beach? All right, I'll answer that one. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, let's not answer that one. I don't want to answer that one. Let's skip to the other one here. Let's see. Guys, Grimes, McBride, and Sims are all ready to play major roles for the Knicks this year. Plus my guy Hartenstein and the Rook Jacob Toppin. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Grimes is the biggest question mark for me this year, guys. I don't know about you because he's another one like Quickley. Didn't show up in the playoffs last year. He's been working out with JJ Redick off screens, working on that footwork. I didn't really see anything different from Grimes this preseason game that I didn't see from last year and everything else like that. All the things he's working on, I didn't really see it. What about you guys?
I think Grimes is going to step up this year. Like you said, he shows you flashes of what he could be. I just want to see it be put together in a full season. So I'm looking forward to Grimes taking that step this year. I'm like still 50-50 if I'm fully ball in when it comes to Grimes. But I think he would be a complementary, a good piece to have around Joel Embiid, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle. I think that's a great piece to have around those three.
Yeah, I think his shot is going to be very important because I think the guy's a stud defensively. We know that. I think he's underrated with the ball. Like, he doesn't really get a chance to make much, but I think he actually could do it. And yeah, if he's hitting if he could just shoot, if he could get close to that 40% mark, if he could go 37, 38% from three consistently, I think he's, I think he's someone that the Knicks need to really grow with.
Jigga, what do you think about
I want to see him have confidence, man. Yeah. Right? We've seen it when he gets that ball. Sometimes he just passes it off, and he's not like you don't see that confidence in his shot, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember I forgot who it was that we spoke with last season, but they had I think it was Ron and John from Still Knicks fans, right? And they were like, you can tell when he takes his shot, if he's tilting, he's not in the zone. Like if he doesn't keep that same shot when he's straight up and just looks smooth, I think if we don't get that confidence, then all of a sudden we're talking, should he just be with that second unit? Does he not step up? We really do need to see him kind of find that, I guess, age, right? A new season under his belt. So I'm hoping we see it from him.
What do you
Agree.
think? What do you think, Phil?
So here's my problem with the whole thing is I personally feel like Grimes has one of the highest ceilings on the team when it comes to a plethora of things that he can offer. I don't feel like he's in the right position to succeed. Like, if you look at his position, when you look at tape before he was a Knick, he was best and quickest, and his shot was best when he was a facilitator because he had such basketball IQ to control the floor, get the ball into the right hands of the right people, and then he would cut out to the three-point line, and they would find him after he delivered the ball to someone else, and that's when his catch and shoot would just flow. And he would have the opportunities because he was going off picks and he was going off, dishes and back cuts. So his shot was able to be straight up and down a lot more than catching it in a position where he's got 3-4 seconds on the clock, and now he's trying to get the shot up to help us get out of a Hail Mary situation. So for me, I personally feel like our Grimes would be at the best for us if him and IQ switched and he came off the bench as the sixth man, because Immanuel Quickley, to me, is a better shooting guard than he is a point guard. Like, he is a player who can get the ball, shoot it up real quick, helps where, Jalen Brunson struggles a little bit on defense. Immanuel Quickley can help with that. And then Grimes can be more of a facilitator with guys like Dante who just need to get the ball, catch and shoot, go off ball. Isaiah Hartenstein is a better pick and roll player when it comes to like setting good picks. Like, if you look, there's a lot of good pick and roll that comes off of our second unit, more so than Mitch. Mitch kind of rolls off, pick and rolls way too quickly.
Yeah.
So I feel like Grimes could actually have the opportunity to be a sixth man of the year if he came off the bench. So for the people that want IQ to like start, yes, I do too. Not so much for IQ, but because I think it's a better fit for both of them. So I think that's where he would actually hit his ceiling a lot better.
Oh my goodness. 100%. I've been saying that for the longest time. IQ and Jalen Brunson in the backcourt. People always want to talk about undersized. That's lethal. Lethal. Yep. They both are aggressive. They both can play off each other. They both are basically combos because they both can play point and as well as a shooting guard as well. And the thing with Quick is, I think Quick is a better facilitator when he plays point guard than Brunson is because of the way he plays basketball in terms of his style of play. Brunson, again, he breaks down people. That's his type of play. Quickley likes everybody to touch it, and then he gets it and then goes back into the paint or shoots a floater, shoots a three, calls for a screen. His way of play is a little bit different. So I think Grimes needs to figure it out. Grimes needs to figure out what his style of play is with the starters, because right now what he's doing with the 3 and D, it's a limited move for his game. He's probably one of the better cutters on the team, and he doesn't cut. How many times you could probably count on your hands the amount of times Grimes runs underneath the basket. It's not a lot. And when he does, it's nothing significant to where defenses would go toward him. They don't believe it, because you don't ever try it enough. So it goes back to, I guess, what we've been talking about a while. The Knicks need to run different things and run different things for different people. That's what gives people confidence in the first place. We got one more question, because I think if we keep going with questions, this show is going to probably go for 2 hours.
Word.
And I'm not trying to do that for everybody, because Jerry's kids is sleeping. He needs a little bit of a break. My son is sleeping.
I'm just scared now. We just handed the keys to the second unit to my man Deuce McBride, who we have not mentioned his name yet. So I'm happy we got some Deuce McBride love. Let's get into the question though.
The last question that we're going to do for today is from Jay from East New York. He said, out of RJ, Grimes, and DiVincenzo, who do you guys think will play best with Brunson next season?
I hope it's RJ.
Right.
I hope it's RJ, because that means RJ is taking that step.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna confidence my way into that one. I think it's gonna be RJ, because this game does complement Brunson. The best part of Brunson is something the Knicks didn't even highlight too much last year, is the fact that he can play off ball. Yeah. We saw it with Luka, and then we didn't even know him as really the lead guy until Luka went out in that playoff series. So if RJ has a good year and he has the ball in his hands a little more and takes some of the pressure off Brunson and allows him to play off ball, I'm hoping it's RJ, because that means also the Knicks will be doing well if it is RJ.
Agree. 100% agree with you. RJ has to take that step this year if we're thinking about advancing past the second round. We already know what Jalen Brunson is. We know what Julius Randle is. We need to see more consistency from RJ Barrett. Like Recap said, RJ Barrett, doesn't matter about how old you are. It depends on how many years you got in the NBA. And he's on his 5th year right now. The man's about to graduate with a doctorate from the NBA. That's how long he's been in the league. But I need to see RJ take that leap this year.
Absolutely. Jigga, what about you? What do you feel like?
Oh, I'm right there. I mean, if I'm putting my money on anybody, I'm going with RJ, right? We need him to, right? But we also know he can do it, and hopefully everything we saw in the offseason, the FIBA, all this stuff translates into this season. So I'm right there. I can't even disagree with that. I can't even take a shot in disagreement because I agree with both of them. All right. RJ's the pick.
I think it has to be RJ as well, too, in my opinion, especially because we saw in the playoffs him playing off ball with Brunson running in the backcourt. I feel like we saw it work then. That complements his game. He's a more aggressive driver. He's strong. He takes contact, especially if he's not missing at the line, got better free throws at the line. That's going to make him score just because.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, because he's going to score more just because he got to the line. And if he's hitting them consistently, absolutely. Phil, we're going to close out with you. What do you think about this situation with what Jay asked regarding RJ Grimes, and who do you think plays better with Brunson in that regard?
Yeah, so I think this comes right back to where we started the whole conversation. If continuity is a good thing, then this guy right here, RJ Barrett, is the one that has played the longest with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Grimes. So that continuity should be good enough to make him play well. Like, he's played with those guys, and he's got to show that that is actually a benefit and a plus. And I agree, I understand he's young. I understand that certain players took longer to get there. Our franchise is not waiting for that. Our franchise is just not. They're on a Jalen Brunson timeline, and so this is the year that I truly believe moving forward, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, one of those guys is not going to be there when we see a championship. And I think that this is the season that one of those guys is going to prove or disprove why they should be the one that goes with Jalen Brunson to get a championship. Because you can't tell me we're going to trade a star, and with that star is going to be Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and that star. It's just not happening. So if RJ Barrett comes out and they're like, yo, this is the guy that we needed him to be, he's younger, we have more time with him, more championships can happen, cool. If they go, hey, Julius Randle came up again, all NBA, whatever, RJ Barrett dropped the ball, then they're going to bank on the RJ or the Julius Randle train. So I think this season will determine which one of them will be orange and blue and which one will not. So if RJ wants that, then we need to see him actually play well with Jalen Brunson.
You heard it here, RJ. Phil told you. You need it. You want it. You want to take that spot. This year's the year. It has to be this year. It has to be. But this was a great, amazing show. Talking with the crew. The Morning Brew Sports crew. We got Knicks Morning Brew as well, too, with Jerry Ferrara as the new co-host as well. They're killing it now. If you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel, I don't know what you're doing. Go ahead and do it. If you see the ad on screen right over there, if you just go ahead and type that into social media, guess what happens? Their account comes up. You hit the follow. It's free, and it helps so much because the little bit of support you give, I'm telling you now, it goes a long way. But guys, thank you so much for coming to the show. I would like to call your friends of the show. I can't wait to have you back. If the Knicks go on a winning streak, I got to get you back.
Yes,
for
sir.
Sure. And I'll say this before we go. First, Recap. Appreciate you having us on, bro. You joined us last season. I think it was multiple times on the Knicks Morning Brew. Yeah. Stellar start to the season, bro. Your content over the last couple of weeks. You came aggressive. You were ready to go. And appreciate you giving us a chance to hang out with you here, promote the show as well. And, it's great when all of us content creators can support each other and work with each other, right? Not being on Twitter where everybody wants to go against each other. It's a safe space we're trying to build here. And I appreciate you being on that safe space side of things, you know? So appreciate you, my guy. And everybody in the chat, I saw 19 Con Jay from New York. Everybody, appreciate all you guys supporting as well. Appreciate you, bro.
And also as
well,
we'll
come back when we're 7-10. When we're 7-3. We're 7-3.
You saw Jerry's face. Jerry's face went over. He was like, "Wait, what? I didn't sign up for 7-10."
No, when we're 7-3, 7-3, we're coming back.
And the new season of the Knicks Morning Brew, if I'm not mistaken, starts October 20th. That is 8 days away. Am I right with that, guys?
So we actually shift. It's going to be the 23rd.
Okay.
Go ahead and just announce it, guys. So
yeah, we'll announce it. 23rd.
We'll share it now. We got Bill Pito joining us on episode 1, kicking off October 23rd. And, we just started off and get as much happiness before the first game on the 25th. So, yeah, lock in October 23rd. We'll tear it up then.
And they're doing this purposely as well, too, because that day is also the last day for Immanuel Quickley to sign his extension. So, they're timing it as well, too. I see what you did there. I'm not going to say anything else. I'll just say I see what you did there. But again, shout out to all of you guys. It was great having you. Love your basketball analysis. I hope your show does really, really well. Again, guys, everybody who's watching, listening to playback, whatever the case may be, if you're not already subscribed to their channel, go ahead and do so. Support and love is always free. That's what I like to promote on my channel. Thank these guys again. Guys, we're going to be out here. Everybody in the chat, I'll be back with you guys in about 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to answer some questions for you guys, and then we're going to completely end like I normally do. But again, big shout out to the Morning Brew Sports crew in the house. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate each and every one of you.
Hey, Jerry, can you call your therapist?
I'm about to go FaceTime my therapist right now.
Both of us. All right, can I join that?